All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining today. Today we're going to be talking about increasing data fluency through data storytelling and data visualization. Just by way of introduction, my name is Matt Cowell. I'm the CEO at QuantHub. QuantHub is a relatively early stage company helping organizations build data fluency across the entire enterprise, really all over the world. So we got our start with an assessment platform to help organizations hire for data roles, and have now adapted that and expanded that into a micro learning platform for data literacy skills, data analytics skills, and really doing it in a way that's scalable across the entire enterprise, sort of given the nature of the problem, which is a broad enterprise problem. Super excited today to have Zach Gemignani to talk about data storytelling and data visualization. Zach runs Juice Analytics, and he'll introduce himself, but just recently inked a partnership between our two companies. So really excited to continue to work together to help us on that mission of building data fluency across the globe. So Zach, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure, Matt. Really happy to be here, and very happy that we have partnered up with you guys. I think it's a peanut butter and chocolate kind of setup where I think we complement each other really nicely.
Better than peanut butter and jelly, even like peanut butter and chocolate.
I'm often debating the chocolate just is.
Yeah, you went right there. I mean, I'm with you. You know, the few times a year when you can get those peanut butter and chocolate trees or eggs, I'm all in for that.
Totally, yeah, can't stop myself on that. So I wanted to introduce myself, our company a little bit, and share just a little some views of some of the content that we are launching on your platform, so people can kind of see some of the things that we're doing with data storytelling. I think it's a great opportunity for us to get this really valuable content out in the world in front of people who are really eager to learn about data storytelling. So and then we're just going to chat, I think, for a while, and then we have some questions to go through. And if other people have questions, we're eager to answer those as well.
Yeah, if you do have questions while we're chatting, just feel free to post them in the kind of streaming chat here, and we'll answer them as we go.
Cool. So my name is Zach Gemignani. I am one of the co-founders. I started Juice Analytics about over 15 years ago with my brother. And really from the beginning, we were focused on the challenge that people have with communicating data. And I think anyone who's been in the data space for very long recognizes this challenge, where there's a lot of work that people do to gather data, analyze it, but we've been focused on what we call the last mile, really that last stage of how you present the data, communicate, and make sure your message gets across and people do something about it. So it's all the effort that people put into data, it's kind of wasted if you don't present it in a way that's going to make people change their minds and take some action on it. So that's what Juice Analytics as a company has been about for 15 years. We have transitioned over the last couple of years to launching a SaaS product. So that's a solution that we call Juicebox, and it's a tool that anyone can sign up for, and it helps you build interactive data stories. So this concept of communicating data and really data storytelling is foundational to what we care about and what we've been thinking about for a lot of years. And I wanted to, we're really just excited to get this, share a lot of our thinking and put it out there and help other people tell stories with data. So I want to share a couple of things and just walk you through some stuff really quickly, and then we can chat some more. This is our site. People should check it out and take a look at Juicebox. It is a free platform. You can use it, try it, build as you like. There's a lot of great things in there to give it a try. Just for this audience and on the topic of data storytelling, this morning I was perusing Reddit. That happens, I imagine, for a lot of people. Just taking a break, looking at Reddit, and there's this subreddit about analytics, so very core, interesting to your audience. And this question was kind of popping off on that subreddit. Someone asked the question, how do you become a better data storyteller? And there was a ton of engagement with this question, a lot of answers. So this is very near and dear to me. And I thought this comment that someone left was really, really relevant. I mean, so this person says, this thread should never leave the front page. Data storytelling is the ticket to promotion, success, and understanding everything we do. So that's, I think there's this sense out there that people understand that learning the skills of taking your analysis and conveying in ways that people will resonate with is super important. And that's really what our data storytelling and data visualization content is about, that we're delivering through the QuantHub platform. I wanted to give you just kind of a quick tour of some of the things that we cover in this content. It starts out with a number of lessons about really just kind of the foundational bits of data visualization, different chart types. The first question that people often have when they're thinking about presenting data is, what is the right chart for the job or what I'm trying to convey? So each of these boxes represents one of the interactive lessons that we've created, and I'll show you what these look like in a moment. So, but starting with charts and just understanding the foundation of how to present different types of data in different charts. There's another level of this, and a lot of people, I think, who are analysts or work with data would not view themselves as designers. So we feel like it's valuable to give people some of the tools of visual design to help you think about how best to present your information. So we're not trying to turn anyone into a designer per se, but there are some simple things and simple rules and ways to think about presenting data that can make a real impact in how well it comes across. So we have lessons around chart junk and using fonts and color and contrast. So these are some of the design skills that are really valuable, which then leads into a few different kind of units we have around data storytelling itself. Thinking about what type of data story you're trying to tell, who is your audience, how do you walk someone through a story, and how do you structure it? These are all important things. And each of these lessons really steps you through with some live examples, how to think about these questions and how to build up your skill set in data storytelling. And then finally, we have a section around choosing the right metrics, making sure that your stories are easy for people to relate to and have specific examples, and even things about dashboards as a form of data storytelling, the different types of dashboards you might create, and how to lay out dashboards effectively. So that's a whole, we have all these different lessons in here. I'll give you just a peek at one or two of these lessons to give you a sense of what you'll find as you're using the QuantHub platform. And if one of these lessons comes up, you'll come to one of our pages. We really try to walk you through different parts of answering these questions of what are good, in this case, what are good colors to choose, what are the different types of colors, how do you use contrast in order to really make your data show up well. And the other thing we like to do a lot in these lessons is show the types of mistakes people make. So sometimes by looking at bad examples, we're able to really understand what is good. So each of these lessons probably takes 5 or 10 minutes to go through. We're trying to teach a few skills, a few rules of thumb, and I think there's a lot that you can gain in that short period of time to improve your data storytelling skills as you work your way through this. So whole bunch of great content. We're really excited to be sharing this. Really excited that we're partnered up with Matt and the QuantHub team.
Zach, one of the questions that I was thinking about, just kind of seeing what you've shown here, is really around who is it that is doing data storytelling. I think there's this, I don't know if it's a myth or it's just this misconception that data literacy, storytelling, visualization skills are just for an analytics team. What have you seen in your 15 years doing this at Juice Analytics with some of your customers? How have you gotten through that? Have you seen that mentality, and how have you sort of gotten past that?
Yeah, I think we're certainly biased, but we feel like these types of skills are important for everyone, and they're important in different ways for different groups of people. So we built our platform Juicebox for people who are non-technical and who might not even view themselves as data analysts, but still, as part of their job on a daily basis, they're working in spreadsheets or they're creating PowerPoint presentations. Anytime your job involves taking some data and sharing that with other people and trying to convey something to other people, there's an element of data storytelling, and there's an element of being good at being able to present that data. And that's a lot of people. I mean, I don't know, in the kind of modern workforce, there's a lot of people who in some way, whether you're in sales, marketing, operations, there's all sorts of, I was talking to a guy who just took over the role of head of operations at a charter school, and he was viewing data literacy and the ability to take all the data they have and have conversations with different functional areas of that school as the first thing he wanted to do when he was getting started. Like, he had not started his job, and we were talking about how do you create data stories, gather that data, and make sure you're having really good conversations with different parts of the organization.
Right.
So I think and certainly it goes, if you're a data scientist, you recognize that the models you build and the results of those models need to be shared with business folks so that they understand what it means and what changes they should make. So I think people in data appreciate that a lot of these skills need to happen, but it's people who don't even consider themselves in data who also need these skills.
Absolutely. Yeah. What's been interesting for us at QuantHub is one of our largest customers is Southern Company out of Atlanta, but they have, they're a utility conglomerate, and they're rolling out a big data literacy initiative, and the sponsors are in IT. But what's interesting is 75% of the users, over 75% of the users, have been outside of IT, and it's refreshing. We don't always see that necessarily, and so it's refreshing actually to see an organization that really is getting it and really sees that these skills, and whether it's visualization, the data storytelling, I mean, there are lots of aspects of data literacy, and it's great seeing people that
is that 75% due to top-down kind of executive encouragement, or is it bottom-up people just like expressing their desire to extend their skills?
Yeah, actually, it's interesting in that it's been relatively bottom-up. It's been a program that was marketed to the enterprise, and people are able to sign up, and so through sort of self signups and interest, people have that's sort of how it's shaken out, and so it's which is again, like really really encouraging that people are starting to see
a lot of stuff feels like the modern, it's the current iteration of the technology skills that you need to have to be effective in your job. Like, working with data is now one of the things that everyone does, whether you're in, if you're in sales and you think you're all about sales, well, you should probably understand the data and understand what it's telling you.
Absolutely.
So it's a really required skill.
How did you end up kind of loving data? What's your kind of story to get here? I see people talk about, they always reference you on LinkedIn as in storytelling and data visualization. So they're always referencing you as an expert in this field. So how did that come to be?
Well, it sort of depends how far back you want to go, but
We got good storytelling time here, so tell us
we
a
do have a
story.
good story, I guess. So I started the company with my brother, and our dad is a painter, a visual artist. So there's, to some degree, I feel like his skills there, and our mother is a teacher. So there's some combination of those that I feel like has come together. But the story that I like to tell is when we first started Juice as a company, we knew we wanted to do something with data, but we didn't really know what in data was important to us. So we were basically a consulting firm that was just trying to help people work with data. Yeah. And early on in one of our projects, we did a project around student turnover for a virtual school. And we had done the analysis, but we really were wrestling with how are we going to share this with the executive team to help them really like viscerally feel what's going on with this data, where students are going and people dropping out. And we ended up, there was sort of this one night where we ended up staying up all night. I was a lot younger then. I could do stuff like that. We stayed up all night, and we created a movie using Excel. I bet there's nobody that you know who has done that. So that is a movie using Excel. We created this sort of animated movie, and that's how we presented, showing how people were leaving and coming and moving about in their environment. And I think that for my brother and I, that just sparked this feeling like there's an opportunity to be creative and with data, and really, we got a great reaction, of course, when we shared, instead of seeing a set of PowerPoint slides, right, they got to watch a little movie. Really touched a nerve, I think, for us. And that was the moment where we just felt like this step of how do you get the data across and get it into people's minds, help them remember it, is really where our passion was.
And so when you think of some of the top skills, it's how sort of into the science of being a storyteller do you need to be? Like, and we've thought about this a lot at QuantHub, where you could read about narrative arcs and all of these things. Like you talked about it earlier, of even how much of a visual designer do you need to be? So how do you sort of toe that line between, being an expert in visual design or, actual true storytelling, weaving a narrative arc and that type of thing? Yeah. How do you balance those things when you're, if you're a person in the business and you're trying to figure out how to be a better storyteller?
Yeah. Well, I think like any art or craft or skill, like there's layers of things that you can get better and better at. And I certainly do. I love looking at other forms of storytelling and narration, books, movies and stuff, and trying to draw lessons. But I think the foundational thing for me is very much kind of a mindset thing that anybody can take on. And that mindset is about thinking about your audience first, understanding what's important to them, understanding their work, what things they can actually impact, and then trying to deliver something that's as easy for them to understand, focused, and as clear as possible. So it's sort of a customer mindset. If you can say like, what is going to make my customer successful when I deliver this data in a way that they're really going to want to see it. I think that takes away a lot of the challenges that historically we've seen of dashboards that are piled high with charts or complicated reports. All those things I think are created from a data first. I've gathered a lot of stuff. I've done a lot of work. I want to show my work kind of perspective. Start shifting to I'm trying to serve the needs of my audience. A lot of that stuff gets torn away, and you'll be a lot more effective data storyteller just with that kind of mindset.
Yeah. I always think about it in terms of like being a good analyst is really understanding, if you're a good analyst, you're asking a lot of questions, you're understanding what people are trying to do. You're not just necessarily responding to what they're asking you. And I feel like there's an important component in there of that, of like, what are you really, that's where that customer centric mindset and understanding your audience, what are how are they coming into this? What are they trying? If it's something where you're trying to persuade them, then what is it that they're trying to do? And in really kind of getting to that and understanding that, and then now you can actually weave a story around that, right? And actually be persuasive because you really understand, you understand your audience and kind of
How
where
much
they're
do you
coming from.
feel when you look at the demand and what people are looking for in terms of content? How much there's sort of like the pure skills of like I want to be able to work with data and data science skills, et cetera, and then these are some of the softer skills or the commitment to understanding the problem, which the better asking the best question is more important than
Right.
than
Yeah.
almost anything. Are you feeling like people? What do you see in terms of demand if you were to think about?
Well, it's interesting. I think it depends on, obviously, as most things, it depends. When you're in some situations, we go into a company and they are thinking about data literacy. They're thinking about needing those types of skills. Oftentimes they're very focused on, okay, we need to increase the skills of our analytics team. And I think in some cases kind of missing the boat that increasing the skills of your analytics team and not actually increasing data literacy and storytelling and visualization skills across the enterprise doesn't really get to the outcome.
Yeah.
And so, we do see some of that, and sometimes we see people that are very tool centric. So they'll ask, well, do you provide sort of upskilling and training resources on specific platforms? And we typically kind of shy away from that because the foundational skills of being a good data storyteller and understanding different types of charts, understanding, the this a little bit of the science behind creating a narrative, the art of persuasion, a little bit of visual design. These things that you were talking about earlier
Right.
are really the building blocks, and if you know those things, a lot of the tools then have different ways to
Yeah. I mean,
use that.
it's
But
fair to say like there's lots of paths to creating good data stories. And, as much as we want people to use our tool because we feel like it's designed for that, you could do it, if you're comfortable in Excel, there's a lot that you can do to be able to communicate more effectively using Excel. There's lots of things can be accomplished in different tools. And I think that is the approach that we've generally taken in sharing content. Our perspective is that we'd like you to try Juicebox, but it doesn't mean that that's the only path to it. There are lots of
yeah.
paths.
There are a lot of BI. Speaking of tools, there are a ton of BI solutions out there, a ton of these types of tools. When you thought about creating Juicebox, what made you do that, and where did you feel like there was opportunity, and how have you set Juicebox apart from the other tools that are out there?
Yeah. So there, we Tableau and Power BI, or the big names, and Click. There's all these tools that are out there. There are a lot of ways to put a chart on a screen. That's all you're trying to do. I think what we have seen is that there's kind of this unmet need, and this goes back to the conversation about different types of audiences and users. Is we've felt like a couple of things. There's not a solution that is designed for an information worker, a consultant, someone who might work with data but does not view themselves as a data analyst. If you're going to be really good at Tableau, let's say, you probably should take a Tableau course. And you should probably and it becomes part of your identity, and you're going to get a certification, you're going to put it on your resume, and those become important things.
Absolutely.
So there's an investment that you're making in that tool. And we felt like we wanted to create something that someone could be up and running in minutes and could be visualizing data very quickly and telling their story more in the way that you create something in PowerPoint. Like, it's just like, it's easy, and the tool gets out of the way, and now I can express myself more easily. Now, there are trade-offs. Like, if you're doing deep analysis across a lot of data sets, our Juicebox is not the answer. There are the more flexibility and features you have, the kind of more you can do, but it's an in sacrifice to ease of use. So that was a big focus. And then the other piece is really about thinking about that audience that we're talking about, the less technical, less analytical people are more focused on the message and what they want to convey and the business problem. And that is a form. We have this kind of dichotomy or spectrum between explanatory, where you're really trying to explain the data to someone, and exploratory, which is where you often start, where you're just like digging into the data, trying to find things. And we felt like there wasn't a good solution that's really focused on presenting the data and conveying that message in the way, really, we've been inspired by the data journalism stuff that people do. The New York Times does all these incredible things, 538. There's all these sites where you've seen really great ways of combining text and graphics and visualizations to tell a story. And there wasn't really anything that fit that need. So that's where we're filling that hole.
Yeah. And then, so, with the way that sort of we came together, with our two companies, why was it, we got connected and it seemed like you said, peanut butter and chocolate. I'm curious your take on that. You guys have learning materials, you guys have those learning materials presented to customers in rollouts of Juicebox and in projects and whatnot. I'm curious, what made you interested in the two of our companies partnering together?
Well, I think it's important to kind of meet people where they are and in the way that they. I think we're up.
Yep.
Oh, we're back. There we go.
Sorry.
The thing I love about your platform is the ability to turn things into bite-sized content that gets delivered as they recognize they need it, as it's clear that they need something. I think you have a model that really fits kind of how people want to be learning today going forward. And, we have a lot of great content, but getting that in front of people in a way that they're going to want to consume it is hard. Like, no one's going to sit down and go through the 20 lessons that we have. That would take a lot of commitment, maybe in a classroom, but not in the modern workforce. So I love the way your platform works and the opportunity to get it in front of the right people in that way when they feel like they need to learn something is really valuable for us.
Yeah, and I think your content has really been just a great addition to the platform. Your expertise in storytelling and visualization have been great for our customers, and we certainly see that continuing. We like to think about it as like just-in-time learning.
Yep.
If you think about the way people learn on the job, they're not learning in this sort of antiquated academic way that we have always learned in the past. They're learning just in time, right? They need this information right now to do something. And so they go and they get it from, I don't know, Google, Stack Overflow, Reddit, like you were showing earlier.
Yeah.
And then they use it right away. And that is such an effective way for people to learn. But there aren't solutions out there that are doing it like that, and it just is illogical. And so you have this great content from subject matter experts, and our goal is to get that stuff to people when they need it, just in time, so that they could use it right away, and then that's actually how you remember.
Yeah, I was going to say the ability to apply it immediately is super. You're arriving at the right moment, so that's cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
I believe we have a couple questions real quick. I think we're almost out of time, but I didn't see these questions. I apologize. Data is often marketed as a panacea for business insights. Can you speak to the limitations we should be aware of in terms of what data can speak to and what it can't?
Yeah, actually, that's I think a great question. A thing that I think about a lot. There's a lot of things that aren't going to be in the data. There's a lot of context around the data that is not in there. So if you take like a marketing campaign and the performance of a marketing campaign, there are other things going on, whether it's in the world, in that organization, things that are not captured in the data. And to us, the important thing is you have the data, but you also want to mix in the reality and the people who understand that data and have a conversation around that data so that you can learn from the data, but you're also learning from it's raising questions and it's unearthing those other things that are going on. So I agree. This kind of idea that's like the data is going to tell us a story, or it's going to tell us what to do, is totally unrealistic in my experience, and really is the combination of people who understand things and understand what's going on and have that data in their head in a way, combined with the content, the actual hard facts of what's going on in the data, that really, I think, pushes the thinking forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would add that, what's interesting about data literacy skills are understanding, when you have multiple variables at play that are changing. And so you tend to think if you're only seeing the one variable that's changing, and you want to use that data, and you don't realize, you're not thinking about it as a kind of multi-variable sort of equation where there are multiple things happening, you could actually assume it's just this one variable.
Yeah.
And so an example from my past is in support metrics. If you're using support metrics and you're incentivizing people on the support team on just close time, then what actually will inevitably happen is those people will pick easier cases. And then all the hard cases will sit there unclaimed, and they'll actually surpass the SLA, and now all of a sudden you have unhappy customers because hard cases aren't actually getting answered, because you have a single variable that you're measuring, and that is the time, that is simply the amount of cases that you can close in a day if you're a support rep. And that's a great example where you're using data, but you're not thinking of it more holistically. Like, what are all the variables here that are important? Which goes back to data literacy skills, right? It's actually understanding different biases that actually exist in data. So, confirmation bias is, I already think I know what's going on, and I'm now looking at a data set and I'm looking for answers only, insights in that data that support what I already think is going on, right? And that's another thing that is in data literacy skills, are the different types of biases. And so I think that's, to me, it's sort of getting into those general data skills and thinking about it and more deeply, and thinking about the data and what's really going on, and then using that data appropriately, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we're out of time here today, Zach. This has been awesome. It's been great being partnered with you. I love getting together and sort of telling our collective story, and getting people out there to realize that we've got something kind of special. I mean, peanut butter and chocolate. We set a high bar right at the beginning, and hopefully we can live up to that. I hope it was that
delicious for everybody.
Yeah, well, Zach, thanks for joining us today, and everyone, thanks for joining the webinar today.